So what is Hanukkah? Is it just a Jewish equivalent of Christmas? They occur about the same time of the year, so maybe you'd be tempted to think it was just the way the Jews celebrate Christmas. No, it's not. It's a completely separate historical celebration of what happened years before. I'm going to tell you what happened years before. So let's deal with the history. Alexander the Great was a king of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. Later, this kingdom was divided up, and one of its rulers was Antiochus Epiphanes, who was born in 215 BC and died in 164 BC. Now, part of the territory under Antiochus was the land of Palestine and Israel. Now, the Jews hated this man. They said he was mad, he was a complete madman. He was cruel, he was erratic, and on top of that, he believed himself to be the incarnation of the Greek god Zeus. He had a portable statue of himself. Imagine that, made a statue of himself that could be carried around and sent throughout all the land of Palestine and Israel. This portable statue, he demanded that the Jews would bow down and worship this statue. Now his title, Antiochus Epiphanes, Epiphanes is the Greek for God made manifest. So he thought he was God made manifest in the flesh. He captured Jerusalem in 167 BC, and when he captured the temple, he desecrated the Jewish temple by sacrificing a pig on the altar to his god Zeus. This act was called the Abomination of Desolation, completely despised by the Jews, who had the commandments of God, the true God. Don't have any other gods before me, and don't make any graven image of any other god. So he broke those commandments, and a group of Jews called the Maccabees rebelled against Antiochus and took control of Judea. The revolt was led by a priest called Mattathias, and later, 3 years later, was continued to be led by his third son, Judah. Now, this family group recaptured the temple in BC 164 and re-established temple worship. Okay, so there's the background, historical background. Now, when they got the temple back, they found a jug, a small jug in the temple, and the menorah, the candelabra of the temple was still there, was still in the temple. So, and it was fueled by olive oil. It wasn't made of candles as the modern menorah are. Now, they had just about enough oil. They wanted to dedicate the temple over a week-long ceremony, but they only had enough oil for 1 day. But miraculously, here's the miracle, miraculously the menorah burned on that little amount of olive oil for 8 days. So that's why Hanukkah has a place in Jewish history and also in Jewish custom now. They have a feast which they call the Feast of Dedication. And it was that feast that I mentioned in John 10 that Jesus went up to the temple and made his announcement. That's what we dealt with in the video last time. Now, the details of this Maccabean victory, where do you find them? They're not in the Bible. They are not recorded in the Hebrew Bible, but I've got a very big Bible. I didn't lug it upstairs to my office, but I've got a big Catholic Bible, which was in Veronique's family, and I found in there the first and second book of Maccabees. They're not considered by Protestant denominations as canon, in other words, as the inspired Word of God, but the Catholics include them in their Bible. So I read, and I read it in French, but you can read the 1 and 2 Maccabees online if you have a computer, and if you're watching me, then you can get the Maccabee books online, as I say. And now that you've understood or had explained in outline, you can find more details of the revolt of the Maccabees and the recapturing of the temple and the rededication of the temple online. In modern Jewish ceremonies, or as they do their ceremonies to reenact the victory of the temple, they have candles, and they have a candelabra or a menorah with 8 candles and a central servant's candle to light the other candles. So usually 9 candles in all. Modern menorah are not usually fueled by olive oil. They use candles, but you can, if you want to try this. We've got some Israeli olive oil actually just arrived at the house yesterday, but I don't think I'm going to try and adapt my menorah to that. But you can adapt a menorah to burn olive oil. Now, there's the background, and I'm now able, with that background in mind, to explain to you why the Jews abhorred and absolutely said this is blasphemy, what Jesus said in the temple at the Feast of Dedication. Have you guessed why they're so angry and why they continue to be angry? If you haven't, tune into my next video and I'll explain everything. God bless you. Thanks for listening.